Shalom. Whoa, look at all these people going crazy. Look at all those white people in their rallies. Oh, they want to come out. They don't like the social distancing. They don't like quarantining. They don't like the government telling them what to do. But the main issue, I think, in all this is how we perceive this. And I see quite often our people are far too quick to give in to emotions and not think about the situation from a more logical, rational perspective. Yes, there are rallies going on where people are just, and these rallies are predominantly white, but I wouldn't say they're 100% white, where people are just protesting these stay-at-home orders given out by their local governments. One of the biggest reasons why they're protesting these orders is mainly because of their financial situation. Not being able to go to work, not being able to open their businesses is causing strain on their finances. And many of them are teetering on the brink of bankruptcy and things like that, foreclosure and all that different kind of stuff, because they can't simply pay their bills. So, from a very reasonable human perspective, that's very understandable. You know, it wouldn't matter if they were white, black, Mexican, everything. You know, anybody in that situation, you can understand them getting hot under the collar. And so they're willing to, they're quite frankly looking at the situation, and they've broken it down into one or two options. They can either take their chance with a virus that has anywhere from, depending on who you ask, a 0.1% fatality rate, all the way up to maybe a 4% fatality rate. But still, regardless, has at least a 96% recovery rate. Either take their chances with that and go back out there and work, open up their businesses, go back to their jobs and make a living, or obey government edicts and stay at home for however long the government says stay at home. These are the two choices that they really have. These are the two choices that we all have. Yes, there are a lot of us that are in the same situation as them. We're having to make the same choices as them. You know, though I think in the case of black people, you do have a lot of us that work for city services and government services, and I'm pretty sure those were rendered essential, and so they have not been out of work. But you know, you can understand people being afraid of their finances going down the toilet, so they want to get back to work as quickly as possible. But the problem I see with our people in this situation is that we're too quick to lash out at white people in this situation simply because we see them breaking the rules that have been put in place. We're like when you have two children, when you have two kids and one kid, you know, kind of gets mad at the other kid or gets mad at you because you wouldn't let them get away with something that kid says that you let the other kid get away with. That's how I see us reacting to this. We're like saying, oh, look, the white people are doing it. See see, when they go to protest and create those rallies, there's no cops all over the place. There's, but when we go protest and rallies, there's cops everywhere and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, that's true. But in this situation, though you would like to make that comparison because of who we're talking about in general, you also have to look at what it is that is being protested. You have to look at the reason that things are being protested. In this case, a lot of it is constitutional, based. It's kind of like, certain rights and stuff like that people have. The government shall not infringe on that. So the point I'm trying to make is we should not be so quick to align ourselves with the other side because we see white people breaking the law. We should not be so quick to align ourselves, by chastising, these people. Because when you chastise them, you are making it appear like you are totally cool with anything that this government says that you're supposed to do. And we are the last people that should be cool with anything and everything this government says to do. Have we forgotten the things that this government has done to our people? Have we forgotten the things throughout history the U.S. government has done to our people? So how is it that we're going to all of a sudden become the champions of that same government just to chastise white people? Oh, the government says you should stay at home. Look at you. Yeah, the government says that we should stay at home and that they should stay at home, but they're not choosing to stay at home. So our position on this should be one of neutrality. We don't want to sit up here and chastise these people for not obeying the government's laws, because we really shouldn't be obeying the government laws either. When you look at debt and who's indebted to who, we're not indebted to the government. It's indebted to us. This nation is indebted to us. So we are the last people who should feel obligated to do anything that this nation has told us to do. Hell, throughout history, they've always used force to get us to play along with them. See, we're in a tricky situation right now, and I can see that slope that a lot of our people are going to fall down. I can see that slope where a lot of our people, I can see what our enemy is doing here. They're basically turning this COVID, this virus thing, and the things that the government says you need to do to fight it. They're turning it into another race issue. They're literally trying to do that. They're literally trying to make it seem like the only people that are against these measures, both the ones that they have already released and the ones to come in the future, they're trying to make it seem that the only people that are against these measures are racist white conservatives and Republicans who are Trump supporters and blah, 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 blah. They're trying to turn it into a partisan racial issue. Now, the effect that this is going to have on the minds of quite a few of our people, because quite frankly, quite a few of our people, I do believe, have lost the ability to think critically. The effect that this is going to have on our minds is one of where we will feel that in order to not be seen as being on the side of the Trump supporters, on the side of the racist white conservatives, on the side of the Republicans, we will be the ones who will feel the need to do everything the government says. Now, right now, all they're telling you to do is stay at home. right now. But it seems like a lot of our people have picked up on what's eventually to come, but they have not picked up on the psychology that these people are going to play against us, that I do feel they are starting to form right now. So we know that they're going to come with eventually come with mandatory testing and mandatory vaccinations. But they're also planning on turning any opposition to those mandatory tests, those mandatory vaccinations, into a racial political thing. They're going to try to make it seem like only the racist, white, conservative, Trump supporters don't agree with mandatory testing. Only they don't agree with mandatory vaccines. Only they don't agree with the government being able to separate you from your children, to separate you from your other family members because you supposedly tested positive for the virus. They're going to paint every opposition to all of these heinous, wicked, devil worshiping measures that they want to bring about. That's going to be part of their New World Order agenda, their depopulation agenda. They're going to blame all of it, all of the resistance to that. They're going to try to paint it as being nothing more but racist white people and Republicans and Trump supporters. That's how they're going to present it. I guarantee you this, because I see them building the foundation here and now. This is how they're going to try to trick as many of us as they can into basically sacrificing your life to these creatures. This is how they're going to trick you to be willing to let them test you, which some people think is really they're trying to get a sample of your DNA when they do that. That's really what some people believe that those tests are really meant to do, is to get a sample of your DNA. Why do they want to sample your DNA? Who knows? But they're going to use this measure as a way to get you to be willing to let them test you and to let them stick you with whatever chemical cocktail they come up and tell you is a vaccine. This is the strategy they are going to employ. And I'm seeing them lay the foundation. I watched on just yesterday two people on television. Both of them had the same comment to say about these white protesters, these people protesting, the stay at home orders. One of them was Don Lemon on CNN. So he was on there hooping and hollering, got all hot under the collar, and he let slip a comment. I don't have a direct quote of it, but it was something along the lines where he was basically saying that these people and their freedoms, these people and their liberties. So basically what Don Lemon was saying, he was basically criticizing people. In this case, yes, these white protesters, but he was criticizing them on the basis of their freedoms. He was basically saying that their freedoms are an annoyance and that everyone else should think that they're an annoyance too. Now, if you think their freedoms are an annoyance, do you actually think it stops with them? No. What Don Lemon was really saying, he wants you to think that all freedoms are an annoyance. He wants you to think that people being free to do what they want with their life is an annoyance. Naturally, considering the situation that we're in, the dilemma of freedom is being placed against the concept of safety. So basically what they're saying is that free people aren't safe. Free people are, prone to transmit the virus all over the place. And so that was what Don Lemon had to say about the protests. And the other person was, I think his name is Jimmy Kimmel, the Jimmy Kimmel late night show. And he had a little segment on the protests too. And he went on to state that these people, once again, these people seem to have a fascination with what he called dangerous things, or things that can kill them. And he gave off a list of he gave 3 examples. He said first off was their freedoms. In this case, he meant how their freedoms, their ability to freely go back to work and stuff like that could potentially get them sick. Then the second one he came with was guns. So, and then the third one, I can't remember what he said for the third example, but the point is, we're seeing them use, and considering what I'm seeing them do now, I wouldn't be surprised if these protests weren't staged. I would not be surprised if these protests were not staged for this very purpose. This very purpose, to give the concept of freedom a racial veneer, if you will, to make it look like it's a racy issue, to make it look like only white people want to be free, and to use that concept to make black people not want the same thing. Because if you see the media constantly telling you that a bunch of racist, white, conservative Trump supporters are clamoring for their freedoms, and the media is constantly pounding that into your head, that these are the only people out there screaming for their rights and freedoms and constitutional rights. Since many of us can't see past the emotional aspect of it all, and we're still caught up in the left versus right paradigm, where, we'll automatically see, not only those people as being bad, but the very same things that they're fighting for. And it could be something that they're fighting for is a right that everybody has. You see? So this is the game that they're playing here. They're trying to quite literally make freedom and liberty appear to be a white thing, so that black people don't want it anymore. And I have a feeling that quite a few of us are not mentally astute enough to see through it, and we'll fall right down into the trap that's being laid. So in the end, we can compare how we're treated compared to whites when it comes to protesting and things like that. We can point out the double standards and things like that. But what we have to be careful to not do is to pick a side, if you will, because neither side is suitable. You know, granted, on the side of the white people, it does appear they are protesting something that's based on rights that we all have here in this country. But their reasoning for protesting is because of their financial concerns. Let's not, beat around the bush on that. It's just their financial concerns that have them out in the street. On the other side, though, we have a government claiming that it is doing everything possible to save our lives, as we have seen throughout history, nothing further can be from the truth. So, and the champions of these vaccines, Bill Gates and stuff like that, I'm glad to see so many people are waking up to the wickedness and evilness of that man. I mean, almost everywhere people see him as what he is. The mask has come off. Nobody's fooled by him. They're constantly bringing his ass out on television, having him talk and stuff like that. It ain't doing no good. People know what he's all about. They know, about his eugenics background, his background in eugenics. Yes, he's one of those damn dirty ass creatures that think only certain people should be allowed to reproduce. And so, the cat is out the bag on him. But they're still going to peddle him around, all up until they finally release this vaccine, and they're going to make it seem like a God has come down from heaven to give us this vaccine, which nothing can be further from the truth. So we have to understand we are surrounded by enemies. And though we would like to side with one against the other, we must understand that siding with either one is a death sentence. It's like the difference between being stabbed in the back or shot in the face. A sane person would choose none of the above. Shalom.